Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing as well as they can. And I have to thank a couple of people for some questions here. Cody Novak and Susan Hardy. And it doesn't make them an easy question. This is a doozy from Cody. So I had a question about the Bible verse, John 4:16. I'm not a biblical scholar, so I'll do the best I can with this one. Jesus said unto me, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So he asks these questions about that phrase. Could you explain what is meant by that? Is it signifying that only through Jesus can a connection with God be made? And when Jesus refers to God the Father, is that the same thing we're trying to get in touch with when we ask for help from the highest? Well, it's an interesting thing. Our dilemma with all of these kinds of questions is, excuse me, Marlene, could you get me a Kleenex, please? Excuse me, everybody. Our dilemma with all these kinds of questions is that we have a tendency to take things very literally as human beings, and very linearly as well. And so with this particular statement, it's very fascinating. I like this statement principally because of its very interesting way of expressing when an individual is not in the flow of that spiritual flow, they're basically in the flow of a love relationship with themselves. This you've heard me talk about to some degree. And that love relationship within itself has the capacity to become aware of itself energetically, but we're not really very focused on that in the way we live and engage with folks. Consciously. Unconsciously, we engage with the person and we either like them or don't like them. We make up our minds instantaneously. We have no idea why most of the time, but we come up with something. But that is a sensing mechanism that aligns with our personality states, how we were brought up, the influence of similarities relating to how an individual was trained to function and develop a personality. So but that's, of course, at first hand, doesn't seem to be a part of this particular statement, but it kind of is. That first level of engagement of an individual is focused on the material planes, primarily. When Jesus starts talking about this, he's in what some people call in the spirit, in the flow. And he is literally saying, you cannot get to the Father level or principle or flow except through that spirit the way, because it is the way to do it, and the truth. And truth is considered a little bit differently. Truth means real in this case. It is the reality of the Spirit that you can engage with to literally engage towards a movement of being one with the Father. And the old traditional way was three aspects: the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, or daughter, the being of a normal human being, either male or female. However, that's another story, and many people would be guarded against talking like that because that's not appropriate, blah, blah, blah. It's because we induce ourselves, we engage ourselves with opinions that relate to a thing that we believe must be true. That thing relates to words. The Spirit is an energetic term that relates to a oneness flow that one can engage with. And Jesus could engage with that level of engagement. I'm going to say something that other people might not like, but others have engaged with that flow. Thus, in the vernacular of other belief systems, they would say that that flow is the only way that you can reach to the Father, into the Father, or into the Kether in the old traditional system that relates to the Jewish system that relates to Jesus because he was Jewish. And that was the engagement with this crown center. Then you begin to engage with that flow as opposed to the personalizations of having an interaction with that flow. In other words, he's not talking about him personally. He's talking about, through his expression, he's talking about the flow of that Spirit being in him. Therefore, that is the way and to the real engagement with the Father, or the highest of all states, one could say. This is very difficult. We come from a Western tradition in North America and in some parts of Europe, and we consider this to be very highly personalized. So our outlook, our opinion is, and I mean opinion, is that he is talking about himself, and that is not, from my point of view, real. Not as real as we would like to believe. It's a distortion, but it's basically an understanding, an option, that kind of thinking. And when he is talking about an engagement with the highest of all states, he is talking literally about that love that relates to coming in from a higher state, one could say, and that flush or flow allows you to speak from it, not from your personalized perspective. So it's not a personality thing, although it's so easy to think that it might be, and people still think that that's true. And as a matter of fact, they will naturally think that because it makes perfect sense in a linear manner. But gaining access to that different state was something that he was able to do, and his orientation was to be of help to others. He was a love flow being. He was here to heal our souls, one could say. Not only the physical body, that was just one of the things that came with it, because at that time, to heal the physical body meant you were extra special. Therefore, you should be listened to. In our world today, God only knows what that would be. One could say that there have been a number of folks who have been very helpful in the physical or emotional or mental helping or healing with others, and but you would not call them Jesus, for example. You would call them their own name. It's a complicated thing, and it's complex in that complication, because our understanding of this is not through experience, it's through a didactic relationship. And we deduce things. We decide it must be true if other people agree with us. And that is the nature of how we do things here. And it's the nature of how we learn and how we attempt to understand. There's no negation in it whatsoever. It's just that that level of engagement is focused primarily on these matter planes, not really necessarily understanding the depth of subtlety, that higher state which can flow through those who can perceive it relative to various levels of engagement with it. But that flow is the only way that you can reach into that very high state. In other words, when he spoke those words, they were the words spoken by the Spirit, not by the personality. Even though the personality was used fundamentally to express, because that's the form that we have, and that also is an energetic form. Many people make that, can be very a little bit, let's say, disconcertedly talking about things of that nature. They feel energy, they can perceive energy, and they believe that they've reached the epitome of existence related to someone similar to a Jesus form. He was quite capable on that nature. Others have been too. I believe that Krishna was quite capable. I think Buddha was really quite capable, but others as well. And they, from my point of view, don't really need or want to express at this time their great capability. Some of these folks that I've talked about previously, I've actually met, and they are about their business, whatever that business is. However, that's not the discussion that's involved here. Is it possible in the very first, well, let me put it this way, the very first level of engagement with perception is individuals learning how to perceive the energy related to these planes that lies within themselves. And that is a movement towards another level of perception related to that which is just beyond that first level. We don't like talking too much about first level, second level, third level, because the first thing that happens is, oh, well, so-and-so is on the third level, and another person's on the second level. Another person might be on the fourth level, and therefore they're much more important than others. It doesn't work like that. That's the dilemma we have with our kind of deductive logic. We assume things that are not real because, according to us, if we can sense something right here and it's strong, that means that person is strong. That's really able. It's the reverse, it's upside down. If the subtlety is so soft and gentle and loving, that person is really able. Now that seems to negate someone who is strong. No, it's not. It doesn't. It's just perceiving the intensity of that individual and their use of a certain frequency, which they may or may not even be aware of. But you got to be careful there too, because there are certain people who think only certain frequencies are important, others are not important at all. That's our dilemma. We come up with these assertions, our beliefs that must be true because we have them. And it's a very, very delicate engagement with our versions of observations or declarations. It's not so simple for us when we're engaging with these things. There is no doubt in my mind that Jesus had the capacity to engage with that universal flow. But there's also no doubt in my mind that others have had it as well. That's a problem with belief. But if she or he, and I'll say this directly, were here right now, in some way in our plane, I doubt very much whether they would even tell anybody they were here. And the reason would be basically expectation, necessity for conclusion. Must be this way or that way, otherwise that person could not be very important no matter what they did. And if they did something that was unusual, then they must be really not a very good thing, because only one way of looking at things would be the only way that would be more right than wrong. This is a dilemma, and we still lie wallowing in our relationship with these kinds of things. On the other side of the fence, it's the only thing we have that we think we trust. This categorical engagement with a belief that may or may not be true. But in spite of that, we continue to grow. In spite of that, we have the ability to begin to perceive beyond what we could perceive before, no matter what it is, and to learn beyond what we could only learn before. We have that ability. It's often called adaptation, but that word is often used in relationship to engagement with life. I'm suggesting that it might also relate to an engagement with higher states. If anything, in the West, and in the East, by the way, if beings have been able to engage with that state in our Middle Eastern area, then it means that others can do so. And in the Bible, I think it says something about that. You will be as able as I, and even more. It still exists in the New Testament. I'm surprised that it was allowed to exist because it counters some of the ideas that are rigid in relationship to how we should look at Jesus as an important characterization and an important precursor to changes in our relationship generally with the world and with us inside. Yet, of course, you also know that it's not nice to be devotional anymore in some schools. But you can be devotional to the school or to the idea that it presents, but you can't be devotional and care, love for that higher state that will enter in to an individual such as him and be of service to these matter states. Because if you can't perceive it, it doesn't exist, according to many. And the PR work on that one is really strong. So, we're a product of the PR work that relates to us in our versions of how we believe things have to be valued, certainly by whoever it is that is the evaluator, whether it be groups or whether it be individuals. Consider this. This is for thinking. Consider it. You will have reflexes that respond in different ways to how different people talk. You have a right to have them, but consider them and wonder. Be curious about the relationship that you have within yourself, about what you desperately need to think is valuable. Otherwise, somehow you're not. Or what you have to maintain to allow yourself to be valued in the eyes of you, not only in the eyes of others. It's a very fascinating thing. Those biblical stories are quite interesting because they tell you a lot about the times that he lived in, and they tell you a lot as you interact and relate to them about these times. And if you have a tendency to look around in all of the world, it tells you a lot about others as well. How we are subject to little details that someone else speaks about being not quite right according to your belief, therefore their belief is wrong. You see, this kind of thing. It's very fascinating how that happens and how strong an influence that is, generally speaking, on all of the communities that happen to exist in our world. I think I probably have talked, I did talk about him as a healer of souls. In other words, meaning this, think about the ability of each of our centers, or sephiroths, or valves, whatever you want to call them, to engage at different levels of intensity, and each one of them align with each of the others, where our intensity happens to be in relationship to these planes. at a fairly high relationship based on Kether or the crown center, energy coming in to be helpful in the rearrangement of frequency or energy in the lower systems so that they can be softer, so the personality isn't dominant, so that the spiritual flow can enter in a manner that allows the personality to be aware but not interfere with the work of that higher state or the father state. Then you could say the Father and the Son or daughter and the Spirit are one. They're at one with each other in those moments when that expression can occur. Even in the last moments of being on the cross, we are told, because that's how we get to know stuff, that the Father or the Spirit, under the duress of his engagement with the matter plane, was not there. I'm not sure that it wasn't there. My view, of course, you don't have to even come close to listening to this. Turn the volume down. I think what happened was, naturally, during the pain of this actual execution of him being on this cross, and it is a painful, bloody thing, the focus shifted to the matter plane, where he was trying to survive through those terrible moments. And therefore, it wasn't that they left him. It was that he couldn't perceive it as well because the pain was overwhelming. I could be totally wrong in that. But that's how I would consider that those higher states would ever not be recognized by him. That does not mean that they weren't there. We are constantly, you and I and everybody else, engaging on these planes relative to how we perceive these planes, or ourselves involved with these planes for our own purposes, or for purposes that help us to attempt at least to be more comforted by the actions and engagements that we have within them. There's no negation in that. None whatsoever. It's how we've been brought up, how we believe stuff to be, how we engage and think things should be. Our anticipations are very important to us, and they have always been. So much so that we will build worlds within ourselves and remain in them as a positive thing for us to constantly reassert so that we feel content with our engagement with life. That is not negative. It's just what we do. And we do that to reassert the way we believe we think we should be again. Because that has a sense of remembrance for us. If we act the way we think we have been made to act, it gives us something that we are familiar with. That familiarity is something that we believe is a kind of strange rendering of loving. Not negative, a rendering. So slowly, in the process of engaging with that spiritual state, one could say, or spirit flow, one can begin to understand that we have a role that we won't like giving up too much. And that is the role of what we make sense of in our world of how things should be as a personality that we are. Personality as that we are. And now, by reconsidering that, we begin to understand that one of the first levels of engagement is the watching of us. So we can not judge anything, we can just begin to recognize some of the methods that we've used in our life to basically function the way we think that functioning should be. And we do this, and we reiterate it habitually. And it's a tough one, because, first of all, we don't see it. And then when we do, we can judge it, or we can elevate it. And that judgment and elevation, both of them are, let's say, blinding to us. And this is really difficult. So the personality is set up in such a way as to have energy flowing into it to do all of these things, because that flow in a way loves us and wants us to be cognizant, conscious of how we function. And every time we're conscious of it, it can be hurtful. Because we're almost instantaneously assessing and judging based on what we've been trained to do. Assessment, judgment, engagement, and that's of others, by the way. Some of you have been taught to judge yourself. It stands in the way of our growing. Any one of us that does that. And we all do. It's part of our training. Part of the system. Slowing that down and understanding that most anything that you've ever done, it was most often reflexive. Yes, there's a level of entitlement there, but not all the time. Not even most times. Just sometimes. And that literal flow of making sense of things may be too fast, because it's inbred for you to slow it down, unless you do a lot of practicing. And that is you doing the practicing. No one can judge you for that practicing. Say you're not doing enough. Say you're doing too much. Find a middle ground someplace. Be on your side in relationship to and attempt to engage with that spiritual flow that is coming in from that kether, or the crown, in a loving, gentle manner. First reflex is to use that for your own service, no one's going to know. Except that's not true. That flow itself will know. Can't fool it. It just knows. So it's not there, though, to beat yourself up. It's not a judgment knowing. It's a recognition of that's where you will likely be for a while until you can understand that it's not about judgment. It's about understanding, learning, beginning again multi-billions of times, being okay with that. Seems to be a little bit off the question, but could you explain what is meant by that, or try to do that? Is it signifying that only through Jesus? I don't think so. But can a connection with God be made? No, it's only through the Spirit. This is really important. And that Spirit is a part of all of us. No exceptions. Higher states don't make exceptions. We do. The Father doesn't make exceptions. That word was used to try and understand, because at that time, the Father was a principle related to looking after the family. Went out and fought wars and made sure that survival was the key, because it was a very physical world. Less so now, but still raises its head often in both males and females. Check it out in you. See who you trust and believe. You. That's the principle. But it's not the reality of it. That's the material principle. Reality that he's talking about. And the truth means real. And the way towards engaging with another state, higher, so that ultimately the personality is a form through which higher states can be helpful to others as well as you. Opening up the healing of that soul, that huge bundle of existences and various levels of engaging with different states within them, to be healed in a way that would be helpful to enabling you to be helpful to others. Sounds really altruistic, I know, but nonetheless, that's the question, so I'll give you my version. So when perhaps you can see how this can fit with a relationship with you growing internally, bit by bit, increments of growth, understanding that there is resilience there. The resilience is finding the middle ground, getting to the point where you can say, wow, I can notice the subtlety of that flow. Even though I notice my own personality engagement, I can notice that energy. Now, can I notice the subtlety of the flow that can operate into it? and have the subtleness, the softness, the gentleness. And you can't fool that higher state. Say it again. You can't act like it. It has to be there. You can act like it and you'll fool everybody, except those who already have it, at least a little bit. But more and more learning as we go along. We're still trying to make sense of things, whereas others don't want to. That's okay in places where there will be places within us where we won't want to as well. Think about that. And watch your reflexes. And do what you can. And try to understand. This is an important, actually a very beautiful and important question from my point of view. I have more stuff that I've written about it, but it's along the same line as what I've been talking about. The second question, I hope that's okay, Cody. The second question, when we interact with another person, our energy I have to look at this again. I can't make sense of this one. Oh yes, when we interact with another person, is our energy, is their energy in us and our energy in them? Yeah, it's true. Because we're emitting energy. When we assert things, we're transmitting energy, whether we think we are or not, or whether we're proud of it or whether we're not. It's what we're doing. You raise your voice in intensity. You are transmitting the value of you and what you're talking about. This is something that we've been trained to do since we were little kids. And if you watch little kids, they will do it. And you can say, oh my God, look at that. That's what they're doing. And they don't know they're doing that. And either did you. Or maybe you did. Does the energy of that person stay in our personality as part of our form? It can, but here's what happens. If you like the way they're interacting and it happens to be in you and you notice that, if you can be conscious of it, then you say, oh, I really like that. I can do this better and that better when they're around. Then you're actually attempting to engage in a similar manner to the other person. If they get away with something, here's the other hand, and you say, oh boy, they got away with something, then you'll try it to see if you can get away with it. If you do that, I mean, not that you will try it, but if you did, then you're letting that kind of engagement be involved with you. And this can be simple things, simple habits, simple anything. You did this as a kid, by the way. This is very natural. And the reflexes practice so much you won't even know when you're doing it. You've been doing it for, let's say, 30, 40 years. Otherwise, it may be there and you notice it and you say to yourself, I really don't want to have that. Then slowly it will dissipate. But you'll catch it in yourself a couple of times, if you're lucky. Sometimes some of that stuff sticks with you because inside of you, unknown to you, it's kind of makes you feel good, makes you feel valuable, important somehow. The question was, is it added to our makeup? And is it become part of our personality, our thoughts and accents? Yeah, it can, but that's not always that way. Most people catch on that they don't want to be like somebody else. They're too busy being like themselves. In a way, that's a good thing. Sometimes being like somebody else might be really helpful to you. Solving problems of some kind, whatever they may be. What if the thought of them just pops up, and might it be them transmitting to us, or us just by recall transmitting to them? So many people in our lives, it seems complex, and it is complex. But just because somebody pops into your mind, they may be thinking of you, but it doesn't mean they're transmitting. They might be caring for you. They might be frustrated with you. And that can be a little frustrating for you, because you will begin to feel frustrated and not understand why. Do some of the tools. They will be helpful to you. First of all, you have to notice it's happening. And find a middle ground in that. Can't be doing it all the time, because you have to live life too, in your own way. We must have our preferred patterns, Sue says, but this only changes if we let it. Yeah, kind of. We all have our favorites, and we automatically maintain them. Sometimes you don't even see them. And if somebody points them out, you can be frustrated or feel bad about it. But it doesn't mean you'll stop. It just means you notice them. Notice them a little bit better. Find the middle ground. Not a judgment, not an elevation. Say, okay, I see that one. I caught it. Okay, continue on with your life. I caught it. Okay, maybe I can do something a little different next time. Continue on with your life. You'll catch things if you cultivate catching them. If you cultivate being negative towards them, you'll be more negative towards them. If you find that middle ground, you'll say, okay, I sometimes do this, part of my training. Let me try and adjust that from time to time. You'll get it probably closer to 50-50. And that'll be a big jump. Wildly valuable. Because you'll increase your awareness. And then you have to work on increasing or decreasing the way you normally act, whether it's judgment or elevating you, because you did something special. Find it, soften it the best you can, and just keep trying the best you can. You've got to live life and be happy at the same time. If we think of that person, do we transmit ourselves once again? You're on this. You've got to be careful that you don't overthink this stuff, especially when you're becoming more aware, Sue, and everybody else, anybody else. Overthinking gets you into the same kind of habit as you may have had before, in a different way. What you're just trying to do is recognize what's going on the best you can. Say, okay, can I soften that down, make an adjustment there a little bit? Oh, I'll catch it maybe half the time. Okay. Do what you can. You see, if you make it a goal, then you're going to judge yourself for not being good at it or extra special at it. But you'll only be catching it when you can allow yourself a little bit of discomfort, which will not be always. So kind of loosen that up a little bit if you can. Do what you can. Those higher states are not there judging you. They just notice. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, I said just look at it simple, in a simple way. Calm the reactions down a little bit. Notice that most of our opinions are not as valuable as we believe they are. That one's tough. Do what you can just to watch how you function. Slow it down. No judgment. It's not easy to do that. And I did say try not to overthink it. Try not to gossip too much. Meaning, what I mean by that is you can come up with an observation, but in fact, what you're really doing is possibly interfering with how another person is, because most of the stuff will be opinions, and it may not be as real as what you believe it might be. You might just be following a normal, habitual way of engaging, and everyone gets caught up in that. So you come up with something, and it's not helpful to both parties, yourself or anybody else. Best I can do, it's about 10 to 8, and so what we'll do is we'll meditate. And once again, thank you very much for the questions. I was down to 0, and I appreciate any and all questions that come in. Thank you.
Namastasye, 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 namo namaha. Amba Lalita Devi, Mahalakshmi Vaishnavi, Namastasye, 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 namo namaha. Amba Lalita Devi, Ma Saraswati Brahmi, Namastasye, 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 namo namaha. Amba Lalita Devi, Durga Devi Shankari, Namastasye, 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 namo namaha. Amba Lalita Devi, Uma Parvati Shive, Namastasye, 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 namo namaha. Amba Lalita Devi, Namaste. Jagadambe Janani Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Mamba Lalita Devi Tvam Ananda Sagari Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Triambake Devi Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute
स्वरूपाय नमो नमः
No, just do the balancing and the grounding, and have a good evening.